You are listening to the Aging Starts Now podcast, where it's all about responding with confidence to the legal, financial, and personal challenges created by a disability, unexpected illness, or aging in general. Join us weekly as elder law attorneys Barbara McGinnis and Chris Johnson, along with other members of the Johnson McGinnis Elder Care Law and Estate Planning team, talk about the tools, techniques, strategies, and services that will make the elder care journey easier for everyone involved. Get ready, because aging starts now.
Are you leaving yourself vulnerable to scammers? If you are an older adult living alone without any plan in place, the answer may be yes. In today's episode of Aging Starts Now, we are talking about the role an elder law attorney can play in protecting you from fraudsters. Joining me for the conversation is partner and certified elder law attorney, Barbara McGinnis. Hey, Barbara.
Hey, Dana.
So can you at first explain to our audience kind of what we mean when we say solo ager?
Sure. Solo agers are people without the natural sources of support we usually think about, like a spouse or children that they're close to and involved in their life. Doesn't mean they don't have friends. It doesn't mean they don't have advisors, but those really close personal connections may be missing.
Right. And what can make them so vulnerable? Like, I know that myself, I'm without children. I have a husband, and I'm just kind of going about my life. And I'm not really thinking about what may be to come, but what could make me more vulnerable as a potential solo ager?
I think because you don't have those people in your life that care about you, concerned about you, those innate, trusted people. They're looking out for your best interest. They want mom to age well and successfully, and they're protective of you. We just have to be a little bit more protective about ourselves.
Right. And how can an elder law attorney help with making myself less vulnerable?
Well, there are some documents that we can help put in place, right? Helping you identify who could be, because I know you have a huge friend network in particular, so you might have friends that would step up to fill those roles of siblings or cousins that other people might have, and that we look at sort of analytically, who would be a good person to serve as your healthcare power of attorney, and go ahead and put that in place. And who would be a good person to serve as your durable general power of attorney? Would you even be so fortunate as to have someone that is a good candidate for an alternate or successor agent? So those people are folks that you could trust to let into your life on a very personal sort of level and share that private information about your financial situation, like maybe not your bank account numbers, but certainly where your money is and who your financial advisor is, so that if there were problems, they'd have an idea of where to start and how to be supportive. And I think over and above those roles, having a will is fine for making sure people know how to distribute your assets that you're passing according to the terms that you want. But maybe consider what's a role of a trust in your estate planning? Is it a way of better protecting you?
That's a really good point and question that we get. In fact, I just got it the other day, and it wasn't necessarily from a solo ager. It was from someone who did live far away from her family. And her family, he had lost a spouse and was feeling particularly vulnerable. And this family member's fear was that some of the caregivers, he had started to rely on some of the caregivers, and that maybe some of the caregivers might be taking advantage of his generosity, and was curious if a trust would be a better tool for protection than a will.
Well, absolutely. I mean, a will offers no protection from the vulnerabilities of living. A will only directs the probate court how you want your assets administered. A trust actually can help protect you, can certainly direct how your assets will be distributed at your passing, but probably more important for the living person is that it can be drafted to create some degrees of protection for vulnerabilities. And, we do hear about vulnerabilities and exploitation. And sometimes it's not exploitation. Sometimes it's just a little bit of manipulation where the elder or near elder person is taken advantage of, but they freely give into it because they want this friend, or they want this relationship, or they just want to help a person, and they are, I'd just say, manipulated into doing so, where people are exploiting their vulnerability and their loneliness.
Right.
And so sometimes a trust just puts a little buffer in there where your trustee or your trust protector could have a role in helping you sort of look at the request, the ask more objectively. So we know that we've got clients that have had virtual strangers move in with them just because there is a need and the elder wants the companionship, or they're lonely and they're trying to meet people on the internet. And it doesn't always have to be the scammer from, across the world. It can be just somebody right here in town that's wanting to take advantage of the kindness of others.
Right. I think people hear the word trust and they just think, oh, that's something for rich people to do for their heirs. But it could be a great tool, as you say, for protection. And if I'm understanding correctly, when something is owned by a trust, and maybe you name your child or your trusted person the trustee, then they have to be informed if you deed your house to someone else, or if you are giving away money. If it's owned by the trust as trustee, they would be informed, correct?
Well, you couldn't even do it really without the trustee's awareness if you're talking about trust assets. So that's why the trust offers that buffer between the elder and the wide world. If you were your own trustee, well, then there's really not any protection there.
Right. And that's probably why you need to chat with a professional, because there are different types of trusts that serve different purposes. So if asset protection is your goal, you want to make sure you've got the right tool for that.
For sure. And there are indeed some trusts that are designed to help minimize estate tax burden or income tax burden on the ultra wealthy. That's not really the kind of trust that we draft here. There's attorneys downtown Nashville that do a great job of that, and I would refer the folks that have that worry to someone else. But how do we help protect mom's fallen victim to scams, and she's used all her money and now she's down to, well, all she has are these 3 pieces of property. How do I make sure that she doesn't take a loan against the property, or give someone a partial interest in the property, or God forbid, even sign over this real estate to someone? this particular person I'm thinking of, it was always, well, if you'll send me $5,000, I'll send you back $10,000 in appreciation. And, that sounds weird that people would even get, that whole too good to be true thing really tracks in this particular situation. But she did. She repeatedly fell victim to those types of scams. Well, so we transferred her property with her awareness. With her son worked with us. She worked with us. We transferred her property to an irrevocable trust to help protect her from that situation.
Mm-hmm. And so a trust can be more helpful in protection from financial abuse more so than a durable power of attorney, is what I'm understanding.
Absolutely. It can. A power, when you're working with financial institutions, let's say you're the daughter of someone that you're worried about for financial exploitation, or you're the POA of someone that you're worried about that may be taken advantage of. See if the bank or the financial institution will flag the file with a trusted contact or a trusted advisor. That way, if the person is doing something out of character, the bank has the permission to contact this trusted person to say, do you know what's going on?
That's really good.
Or make yourself, just making you aware that mom's writing a check for $20,000 to whatever, and that's just out of the ordinary for her.
Right. What about other institutions, such as maybe Social Security?
Well, now Social Security is interesting, right? It's like our present administration is really taking seriously Social Security scams, in particular, maybe something with fraudulent things. But ordinary living, we have an example that we've seen in ordinary living is just a parent on the phone with Social Security, letting the funds be redirected to a child's account, given permission to do that. Well, if that parent had already had the Social Security advanced designation on there, then that would be a flag to Social Security to say, we need to contact this personal representative or pending personal representative to let them know, because that happens I don't know that it happens all the time, but it does happen frequently where Social Security money gets rerouted to another bank account away from the Social Security intended recipient. And you can place in your Social Security file this advanced designation representative so that when things do start going astray, we have a trusted person named already to help step in.
Right. Well, I will say, especially in some families where there might be some drug abuse or struggles, that could be an issue. I have been very open that my family is a client of the firm, and we did have that issue in our family. And thank goodness we had a trust. We got a trust at the time just because we wanted to make my in-laws' money stretch. But it turned out to be a great tool against people who just had nefarious intent to steal what they had left. And that, thank goodness, we did that. So a trust is a great tool for that purpose. And putting your name on the Social Security as a trusted contact just early on, just as a safeguard, is helpful because people get really creative when they're desperate.
They do, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, people feel pushed into a corner perhaps, and things happen that you just wouldn't believe would happen.
Yeah. So when is the right time to consult with an elder law attorney or to start these plans? Because I think that people fall into the trap like my aunt. She was very healthy, independent, working. She was 87, but she was very independent compared to other 87-year-olds. And she was thinking, well, I'll get that done when I retire. So when I get old or when I have an infirmity, and she waited till she had a stroke. So when do you know, hey, it's time?
Well, I have mine in place now and generally recommend that people put them in place while they are in a good position. And I mean more like cognitively, they're aware, they can pick who they want and let them know, and then maybe start with sort of coaching them or guiding them, teaching them how to take care of me, how I want you to use my money, what I want about medical decisions. So make it both while everything is good. And then when things fall apart, your plan, you've already knitted your own safety net.
Mm-hmm. I think that's really good advice. So even if you're in your 40s, 50s, 60s, that's a good time to start.
Yeah, I think it is a good time to start. It's hardly ever too early. And we say this all the time. It's hardly ever too early to start. And you must keep the expectation that your plans need to change with you as your life changes.
Well, is there any other parting advice that you have for our listeners today?
Sometimes I think that an older person may be very reluctant to share information. They're private beyond just normal private. We don't want to broadcast our financial information, all over the Sunday school class or all over the Rotary meeting or anything. But if you've named someone to be your trusted agent, your worker, there's hardly a good reason not to start letting them in terms of what type of accounts do I have and who my financial advisor is, who's my accountant, because this is a job somebody is going to have to take on, and doing it and trying to have a bunch of, unraveling a bunch of secrets and mysteries about where's the money and what kind of money it is, and is there enough money to take care of this person? That's hardly fair to give someone that task, but not give them the information they need until the very last minute.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's really good advice. Well, that is all the time that we have for today. Thank you for joining us. And if you know a solo ager or are a solo ager, or if you're just worried about your family becoming vulnerable to financial exploitation, give us a call or send somebody that you have in mind this podcast. Please share it. And Johnson McGinnis, Elder Care Law and Estate Planning, is a life care planning law firm helping families figure out the care needs and financial concerns that can come with aging. Join us next week for another episode of Aging Starts Now.
Thank you for listening to the Aging Starts Now podcast. For more information about today's show, visit tn-elderlaw.com, click on the Free Resources tab, and then click on Aging Starts Now. You'll find the show notes there. And while you're at it, why not check out all the free resources available at tn-elderlaw.com. Document downloads, the Johnson McGinnis blog, educational videos, informative articles, helpful links, a TV show, and more. It's all there, free for the taking. If you enjoy listening to the Aging Starts Now podcast, Please subscribe, rate the show, or leave us a review. It's easy to do on whatever app you use to listen. We would love your feedback on the show. Aging starts now. We'll be back next week with more candid discussions about the challenges created by aging, disability, and unexpected illness.